Hi, this is Mrs. Bustamante. We're going to continue to talk about how did we discover the structure of DNA? What does DNA look like? And we just finished going through Avery's experiment and the Hershey-Chase experiment, basically talking about how do we get to this idea that DNA is the thing that causes our traits to be inherited from one thing to the next. So now we know it is DNA, but what does that DNA molecule actually look like? And this is really where a lot of things get kind of interesting about the structure of DNA. So we kind of credit the structure of DNA with two scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick, and we give them credit because they published their findings in a paper called Nature in 1953. And in that paper, they say that the DNA molecule is made from two strands that are twisted together in a shape that we call a double helix. And it looks similar to a twisted ladder. This is how we say it. So if you had a ladder, it was straight up and down, and you twisted it around, we'd say it looked like a DNA molecule, or rather a double helix. And they say that each strand is composed of nucleotides. So these are two separate strands, and each of them are made up of nucleotides. And the rungs of the ladder, these parts going across, are made of things called nitrogen bases. While the backbone, this light tan part here, is made of alternating deoxyribose, which is a sugar, and phosphates. So that's really what Watson and Crick say is the shape of DNA and what it looks like. And we really, for a long time, and even now, we give them credit for the structure of DNA. But it's important to note that when we're finding out what the structure of DNA is, lots of people were working on this, and lots of people were trying to find answers to this. And there's actually a little bit of controversy over Watson and Crick getting credit for this. So there's two other players we often talk about. And they're Maurice Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin. And what they were doing is they were doing X-ray diffraction. So in their lab, they were basically taking X-ray pictures of different molecules. And based on the banding patterns that we saw in them, they were trying to say, oh, this is the shape of the molecule. And this is their picture, actually, of a DNA molecule. And what's kind of thought to have happened is that Watson and Crick sort of get a hold of this information, get a hold of this picture, and they're having a hard time putting together the pieces of how DNA really fits together, what its shape exactly is. How do these nucleotides fit together? And this picture kind of gives them the clue of how it really works together. So in 1962, the Nobel Prize was actually of medicine was actually awarded to James Watson, Francis Crick, and Maurice Wilkins for solving the structure of DNA. So he gets credit too, but you'll notice there's a person who's left out here, and that's Rosalind Franklin. And she actually gets left out because she died of cancer in 1958, which you'll notice comes before 1962. And in order to get a Nobel Prize, you have to be alive in order to be awarded that prize. And what's kind of controversial about that is probably she died. They think of her cancer was probably influenced at least by all her work with x-rays and the x-ray machine. So that's pretty sad that she sort of missed out on that honor that all these other players got to be recognized for.